Gemini are the people born on from May 21st through to June 20th. You'd be a Gemini sun. Gemini is a zodiac sign ruled by Mercury, and I always think of a flock of birds chirping at each other and talking to each other. Gemini energy is really busy. We've got Mercury, which orbits the sun in 88 days. That's the year. That's a year for Mercury, right? It's very quick. So Mercury types, whether it's a Gemini or it's a Virgo, they have a nervous energy to them and a busyness. Gemini applies it a little bit more to the mind, but Virgo does too. But it's communication. It's this sort of extroversion of this busyness. So a Gemini will, when they text you, or anyone who has a lot of Gemini in their chart, it's like long texts, or they'll keep in touch with you, or they really need communication from their partner. They need that kind of contact. That's what they're good at. Also, Geminis, they need to be moving. They love to try new things. They always have new ideas. They're quite bubbly and refreshing, and they can change their minds a lot and change their life direction a lot because they almost have too many ideas and too many things going on. They can also be a little bit fidgety, mentally and physically, a little ADD. It's kind of a Mercury trait. Our high-functioning Geminis, we have someone who's easy and breezy. They've got a cheerfulness, a versatility to them. They're good at multitasking. They're rational for the most part. There are other things to look at in the chart that will suggest otherwise, but they're open to new experiences. They're spontaneous and fun, and they've got a good sense of humor, conversationalists. They're just kind of happy, happy-go-lucky. That's very Gemini. If you're pure Gemini, they don't wade too much in those deeper waters of deep emotion and existentialist feeling or thought. A low-functioning Gemini, on the low side, they can be overly loquacious, right? They can text you too much. They can maybe not recognize when it's time to just we don't have to be talking the whole time. We can sit in silence. Remember, you need to look at the person's moon sign, their Mercury, and other things in their chart and see where that sun is actually placed, which house it's placed in. That's going to adjust this because Gemini is mutable, so it's quite overridable by other signs that are in the birth chart, okay? But for the most part, they're talkative. And if they're not extroverted with their talkativeness, then it's happening inside of them, okay? So they're going to analyze everything, and they're going to have a lot going on inside of them. So it's almost like the quiet Gemini is the one you really need to worry about because there's even more going on inside of them than the one that's extroverting it. All right, they have an anxiety to them. They can be flirty, not really anything necessarily meant by it, but they are quite flirty with the opposite sex. It can be hard to pin down. They can have problems with commitment. They can have like a Peter Pan thing happening where they just want to be like a little kid for forever and they won't grow up and, like buckle down to the realities of life. So they can be a little bit childish in a different way than Aries. It's kind of like they just don't want to take things seriously. They want to be free to... It's almost even just they change their mind so much that they can't just stay focused on one path. Gemini in love. Geminis like things to be fresh, light, bubbly, like I've said, they're little butterflies flittering about from flower to flower. In love, they enjoy conversation. They have to have conversation. They have to have communication, whether it is verbal, whether it is written through text or letters, or sharing music with each other, or sharing poetry or things that have been read. They are always like talking to someone. True Gemini is quite talkative and social, and sometimes in romantic relationships, because they have this sweetness to them and this lightness and easiness, when they really fall in love with someone, they're not quite sure what to do with these feelings. It's kind of like, oh, geez, like it's bringing them, they're usually up in their headspace or this throat chakra area, right? This is where they operate. And it brings them down into the part of the body where there are no words. They can't put words on the feelings they're feeling. And that is really uncomfortable for someone who is used to and excels at putting words to things. So many times they run from commitment because they don't know what to do with it. They're like, what is this thing, okay? So in love, Geminis many times have a harder time with people who are perhaps more watery or more feelers, this kind of thing. They like to keep things light. And again, look at the other signs in the chart. Look at where that sun is placed to give you an indicator. If you've got someone who's got multiple planets and air signs, then that's what we're talking about. Gemini's expectations in love. So they need space, but they also need a lot of conversation and repartee and connection, which is a funny little thing, right? They just need space to know they can go and like wander off and do their little thing and then come back. They've learned some new things and you've got to learn some new things. You have new stuff to talk about, new things to enjoy together, okay? They like jokes. They have like a little naughty sense of humor. They love playing together. They don't like emotional mind games. They do not like passive aggression. The water signs rule that realm, okay? The water signs are like professional at passive aggression and emotional manipulation. Geminis are just going to be like, what are you doing? That doesn't work for me. And then they'll just flit off somewhere else, okay? You can't tie them down. If you try to tie them down, you are fighting a losing battle. So, okay. Also, they don't like feeling a sense that their partner's leaning on them for their emotional validation. You know, Gemini, they need a partner who is strong on their own, who, you know, doesn't need to be validated by them. You can't be clingy with a Gemini. That doesn't work for them. So Gemini's biggest fear. Now, because we have someone who is quite flighty, and they can be shallow at times, or they can appear shallow. It's just because they're interested in so many things. They're going a million miles a minute, and they got so much stuff going on in their head, and they, you know, going all these different directions, and they have this genius to them, you know, this Gemini Mercury quickness and quicksilver thing happening. They're afraid that maybe they really don't have the emotional depth, okay? A lot of times Geminis have been accused by loved ones in their lives that you know, can't you take this seriously? Why can't you commit to me? You know, these kinds of things. And the Gemini, this is an issue for them, something that they really worry about because, as I said earlier, that heart space is not their natural habitat, okay? They are cerebral and they are, you know, throat chakra, they're communicators. Heart stuff, intuition, this does not have words. So unless that Gemini has some strong placements in their chart, that they need some water placements or even some fire, which will bring them down into their body at least, or earth. You know, this is going to be a fear of theirs. They're going to worry that they don't have emotional depth. So don't ever accuse them of being shallow, right? See them and meet them where they're at and help them put words to their feelings. Help them put words to the things that they can't voice, okay? That's how you can help them overcome this fear and help them to grow. If you're interested, if you really want to find out about the compatibility between you and your partner, you need to have an astrology reading done with an astrologer. The computerized reports are really cool, and you can order some great ones on Astro.com. They're great for giving you an initial sort of step into the compatibility between two people and learning about synastry, but there is nothing like an astrologer going over your charts because we look at first the individuals and we look at the synastry together, the chemistry between the two people, which is very complex. I mean, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of possible, I mean, really, there's probably millions of possibilities when we look at the synastry between two people. But we are focusing it on, you know, these areas that are important and relative to romance and romantic compatibility, which a computer can't do. I mean, computers just databases of, you know, aspects between two people, right? An astrologer takes these aspects, the zodiac signs they're in, the houses that they're in, sees all these patterns, this inner working, this mechanization of these two charts together, these two humans, these two blueprints, how they lock and key fit. And the astrologer is able to make some deductions that are much more enlightening than what you would see from a computerized report. So computerized reports are great. They're a good place to start, but most of them cost like 40, 50 bucks. You can get a reading with an astrologer. It takes 90 minutes where you can record it and listen to it over and over again. $189 is what I charge for my relationship readings. If you're interested in that, give me an inbox. You can go to my website. You can actually book an appointment right on my website yourself, get it all taken care of without even having to message me first. I've got my schedule up there. So very easy and a lot of fun. You do it via Skype or telephone or in person if you're here in Utah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you, and share with your friends. Subscribe to the channel if you like it. I try to get stuff up regularly because it's my passion to share astrology with as many people as possible. So thank you so much, and see you soon.